Hey guys, Uncle Ray. Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Bellwether. I'm going to make a statement about Bitcoin, and if you agree with it, you should probably watch this video, especially to the very end. If you disagree, this video is probably not for you. Hit that like button, and hey, good luck to you when it comes to trading. Now, I'm an ex-currency trader. I used to trade coffee, sugar, cocoa, all the foreign currencies. I traded the commodities in the futures markets. I've traded options, I've day traded, and I've flipped a lot of real estate. I've been a student of all financial assets for over 30 years. And now that I'm in crypto, I came to the realization that Bitcoin is the most dominant bull market I've ever seen. And that is not going to go away in my lifetime. Now, I understand that some people talk about crypto winter and they talk about bear markets and all that. I want to be very, very clear. Bitcoin has been in a raging bull market since inception. Now, it may not have looked like it, and you can't measure it day in, day out, week in, week out. But if you follow the adoption and you understand the process of a very young asset class, that is setting records in every category, you'll understand the price doesn't necessarily reflect where it is as an asset class. I understand that. Now, I've created a trading system or an investment philosophy for the next 10 years, and I'm excited to share that with you guys. It's called S.A.A.T, S-A-A-T, and I'll explain that to you as we go. Now, I want to share the thesis with you. The thesis is basically based on the thought process that we are in the biggest bull market in history. That's not going to change. Now, as I studied that and how to capitalize on that, that led me to Metcalfe's Law. Well, Metcalfe's Law basically explains how you measure something that can't be measured, like the internet or electricity. Well, that to me was about half the story. So as I kept going down the rabbit hole, it led me to Beckstrom's law. And he basically talked about the network effect of the volume of transactions as a network is linked together, which is blockchain. Like when you stack something on top of Ethereum, every time you add a node and a node is added to that one, the value goes up. Now that may not be reflected in the price at the moment, but it will catch up. And I'll explain more later about that. Now, when you understand the Metcalfe's and the Beckstrom's law, well, that effect leads you into synergy. As the network starts to grow, it starts to feed into synergy, which basically means that, 2 plus 2 doesn't just equal 4, it actually equals more because of the momentum that you have. So the synergy leads into momentum. The momentum leads into the competitor FOMO. Once the world starts to see how powerful blockchain technology is and the other corporations like the banks start to deploy it and they start losing ground, they're going to FOMO in, and that's going to give you exponential growth. Now, like I said, that growth is not necessarily inflected into the price, but it will be. Now, let's kind of understand it better with this chart. Now, this chart is basically the adoption. See, all that leads you into following the adoption. Don't look at the charts and don't look at the price. Look at the adoption. Is the sector growing day in, day out? So this is a very, very important chart. And if you are going to decide to possibly trade or invest in Bitcoin based on the S.A.A.T method, you need to understand and never forget this chart. So what are we looking at, guys? Here's where we're at right now. Okay, it is 2022. We're right here. This is where we're going. in the next 10 years. That signifies the adoption, not the price, not anything, the adoption of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and digital assets. So based on the fact that we are going to get right here, and the price will reflect that at that time, we're going to trade for 10 years based on that. Now, let's get into some of the rules that's going to help us in the trading of S.A.A.T. Excuse me, that's not it. Here we go. Now, I'm going to go through these pretty fast, and they'll make more sense in the next section. Now, the first thing is we got to set up a time frame. Well, it's 10 years. I wanted it to be a lot less, but quite frankly, guys, I truly believe in the next 10 years we're going to have a recession, if not a depression, based on where the economy and the global economy is. So I couldn't base a plan, a strategy on short term. It just wouldn't work. So I set a time of 10 years. Now, as the second rule is dollar cost average in and out. The third rule, never buy above the old high on the way up. And I'll explain more as we go. Now, never take a loss. Guys, this strategy, we are never, ever going to lose money. Now, I guess this is probably a good time to say that this is not financial advice. This is my financial opinion. But if this system works out and my thesis works out, we are not going to lose money along the way. It's not going to happen. Now, number 5, never buy or chase a pump. We don't do that. Never buy on an up day, never sell on a down day. Now, there are exceptions on selling on a down day. I'll give you an example. Right now, crypto or Bitcoin is at 45,000. Now, let's say you get in at 50,000 and it runs to 60, 65, and it actually breaks its old high of 69 and it's sitting at, say, 72,000. And you wake up the next morning and the stock market's down 30% and something drastic has happened, like Russia has actually, truly invaded, and the war is going to just go on and on. Well, at that time, we can go ahead and just cover everything, but we still only are going to do that if we can cover at higher than our entry point. We're not going to lose money. If we can't cover higher than where we got in, then we're just going to hold it and cut off the computer, and we'll come back and look at it at a later date. That's a rule. Now, as we go through the next 10 years, we're always going to buy the dips. Always. We're going to stack during the dumps, because if you've been following crypto at all, you'll realize the market goes up hard, and then it normally comes back aggressively, and it trades sideways for a long time. And when it does that, we are going to stack and stack and stack. Now, the 10th rule is probably the most important rule. Stick to the rules, have conviction, and be patient. Now, let's look at the next thing, guys. Excuse me. This is how we need to think. Now, I want you to pay attention to this chart, and a lot of stuff will start to make sense. First thing I want you to notice is his brain, right? He's thinking about conviction. He's thinking about Bitcoin. He's thinking about that it is a 10-year bull market. He's thinking about that time, right? So what you're looking at is the S.A.A.T system, S.A.A.T. It's sentiment, awareness, adoption, and technical analysis. Now, based on the rules back this up, but I want you to understand them. The sentiment, when the sentiment is negative or low, right, where no one wants to be into Bitcoin and it's really negative, we're buying. That's a rule. Now, when there's a lot of hype and FOMO, we're selling. Now, I want you to think about this and never forget it. Write it down. FOMO, fear of missing out. And everyone wants to get in. Well, for us, it's fear of missing out, and we're out. We want to be selling to the sheep, guys. And I say that with love, but this is called the Crypto Bellwether. We are leaders, and we want to guide you into the future. We want to point you in the right direction. And anyone that wants to do the opposite of what we're looking to do, well, we'll sell them our position. Now, awareness. This is really, really important. As you've seen over about the last month, the awareness of the need around the world for Bitcoin has been extremely apparent. Like, it started with Canada, about 5-6 weeks ago, when the truckers were trying to protest. Well, they canceled all their bank accounts. They canceled their insurance so they could arrest them for driving illegally. And then they tried to cancel the Bitcoin that was funding the whole process. Well, they couldn't do it. Well, the world saw that. Then Russia invaded, and all the accounts around the world in that area got closed, and people couldn't have full access to their money. Well, the world saw that. That was awareness. Now, Goldman Sachs just announced that they are going to start uh, an exchange for trading crypto. They just did their first trade. Well, that made the world stand up and watch. That's awareness. Now, awareness is going to lead to adoption. Another example, when Facebook changed their name to Meta, you can bet every social media platform in the world said, what is that all about? And they started to become aware, and now they are implementing NFTs and getting into the metaverse and all that. Well, that takes time. Well, that's the adoption that is right behind it. And that adoption is delayed, but after that, it will be reflected in the price. So in the future, keep that in your mind, especially if you want to swing trade for a couple of months or maybe even a year. Now, the technical analysis is how we get in and out of the market and how we follow along with our macro thesis. Now, we're going to use sentiment and technical analysis to get in and out. Now, that being said, the other side of this uh, strategy is not necessarily for traders. If you are just an investor, it's half of what you need to know. You basically need to understand the sentiment and the technical analysis of when to get in and out. And you need to understand the rules of that we've provided. And then you can just disregard the ones of when to sell. You just dollar cost average in, stick to the rules, and that's for the long-term investor that doesn't want to trade. Now, the other thing we need to look at is the chart. Now, here's where we're at, guys. Now, I'm going to bring it home, and hopefully this will all make sense to you. And if you want to implement this strategy, I'm going to do videos every week, and you can follow along of where we're at and my thought process. Now, remember, not financial advice, just my financial opinion. Now, this is the Bitcoin chart. Right now, we're about at $44,000. Now, according to the rules, we cannot buy in this above this, period. But that being said, we're at 44,000. If you haven't stacked your bags, guys, I'd prefer you not to get in above 50, but definitely, depending on when you're watching this, above 60. You're just going to need to wait. But because I've been stacking my bags for about the last month and a half. Uh, all my positions are under 40,000. If you go back and look at my videos, I have extreme conviction. I had kept stacking and kept stacking below 40. I wish I had more money. I would have been in a lot better position, but I bought all my other uh, cryptos along the way until I absolutely deployed almost every bit of money I have. Now, so here's part of the concept. We're stacked, guys. We're totally stacked here. Now, as it goes, we're going to sell, right? And we're going to sell, and we're going to sell. We're going to be out. Now, roughly, my thought process is when it starts to reach the old high, and it will, whether that's in a week or in a month or 2 years from now, we're going to take out that old high. And when it starts to approach it, I'm definitely going to take some profits. I believe when it starts to get to 69,000, it's either going to blow through it like it's changing gears and run straight to like 75,000, but the odds are it's going to have so much resistance, it's going to pull back pretty hefty. I may just sell it all at that point and look to get back in. We'll just go through the process as it unfolds. But now, here's what I want you to think, guys, about my system. Now, hindsight is not indicative necessarily of future results, but let's look at what I'm implementing in my thought process. Based on the beginning, Bitcoin has been in the biggest bull market since inception. Well, if you would have got in 12 years ago, you'd be extremely rich if you just held. But I want you to look in 2017, that guy right there probably thought, some of them held, but a lot of the average person, the way they think, the people that FOMO in, probably thought that was the worst trade he's ever done, right? And if he would have been in the S.A.A.T strategy, he would have just cut off his computer and held, and he'd be in retirement right now if he had any amount of money whatsoever. So all that guy, that's one of the worst places in the whole chart. In the history of Bitcoin, that guy bought in the worst spot. And if he got out, he lost a lot of money. If he held on, he's extremely happy. Now, here's the next guy. He bought in and probably dumped it right here. Well, if he would have held, he'd be happy. Now, as it sits right now, this guy, now I want y'all, let's talk about this position. When Bitcoin was at 69,000, a lot of people FOMO'd in. And the odds are when it pulled back to 65 or 60, damn sure 50, they dumped. They all lost money. And if he held on, he'd be fine, right? Based on my thesis, which I have no doubt that he'd be fine. He would look like a genius 10 years from now, even buying at the absolutely worst time. But now I want you to think about how trading works, guys, and this is hugely important. At 69,000, someone sold that position. So you have two people. You have someone that bought at the peak and someone that sold at the peak. We want to be the guy that sold at the peak. So now let's think about it. One guy bought and he probably got out right here and lost money, and he's probably out. He doesn't even have the conviction or the courage to get into Bitcoin. He thinks it's a horrible investment. Now, the guy that sold right there, he probably got in somewhere in here. Well, you could bet, because that worked so well, he's probably been buying all the way down, because his thinking is, I know it's going to be worth 69,000 again, and every day it goes lower, it's just on sale. Well, he's going to do that trade again. And when it gets to say 79,000, he'll be the one that sells it to the person that FOMO'd in. Guys, that's why I'm here. I'm the Crypto Bellwether, and I want to lead you and show you how to be profitable and how to be on the right side of these trades. Again, not financial advice, but guys, the concept is buy low, sell high. And if you go through my thesis and you understand it, and then you go through the rules and you learn how to implement those rules, guys, this system is going to work and it's going to be very profitable. I'll put this system against any system I've ever seen, and believe me, I've seen thousands. Now, all that being said, guys, if you don't believe in the thesis and you don't have conviction and you plan on maybe getting out next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, probably not going to work for you. Now, also, it doesn't work for other cryptos. Now, a lot of it will, but as a thesis, it doesn't work. Now, Ethereum is probably the exception. I believe my strategy will work for Ethereum and Bitcoin. Now, why is that? The reason being, when we talk about not losing money, is if you get into Ethereum right now, Ethereum's at a little over 3,000. Well, let's say you get in and it drops to 2,000, even 1,000. Well, if you have the conviction, like we've talked about, you just cut off the computer. I truly believe in 10 years, Ethereum will be at, I don't know, 100,000, 250,000, 500,000. I don't know, but I know damn well it's not going to be around 3,000. So the system would work. And that's the whole premise of this system, of how we don't lose money. We may lose a lot of time, but look, guys, in my opinion, if Bitcoin is struggling and you have to wait a long time, real estate has gone down, and it's a lot worse than being in Bitcoin. The stocks will have gone down. All asset classes will have crashed. In my opinion, Bitcoin is the most certain of all uncertain assets. And guys, they're all uncertain, if that makes any sense to you. So what I'm telling you is, if tomorrow we have a global meltdown, Bitcoin's the one to be in. It's going to be the strongest. It's going to get hit. It's going to hurt. And you cut off your computer and we just wait. But if you cut off your computer and you're in a lot of stocks, or if you're in real estate, it's going to be brutal, guys, and you may not rebound. And that's why this system is going to work. I have 100% conviction. 10 years from now, 100 years from now, Bitcoin is going to be the most dominant asset ever. It already is, in my opinion. It just hasn't proved itself to the world, but it's coming, and that's where we follow the adoption. So remember, guys, when you wake up one morning, and it's going to happen 1,000 times over the next 10 years, and your account is just getting pounded, well, we don't sell, we buy, right? We start stacking, because why? You remember, where are we going, guys? There's the future. Follow the dot. Follow the dot, guys. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments, but please have a reason. Verify your thought process. If you agree with me, let me know. And remember, come back, because we are going to trade this every week. I'll be doing a video. We can follow along on the S.A.A.T strategy, and we may adjust it as we go. But guys, have conviction, stick to the rules, be patient. Now, if you got anything out of this, please hit that like button, subscribe, guys. We want you to be part of this community. Make sure you come back and be a part of this community. That's all I got for you guys. Take care. I hope you like the S.A.A.T trading strategy.